Hello everybody, Michael here for Tactica Imperialis. Welcome to today's video. Today's going to be a Warhammer 40,000 theory video. It's been a while since we've done a 40k theory, not to steal off the channel of the same name. We've done a bit of 30k stuff quite recently, or in more recent times, and so I want to go back to 40k and have a discussion on something that I find particularly interesting. Now we're going to be talking about Tau today, so if you're one of those people who really hates Tau, then the back button's going to be in one of those two corners, or wherever it is on your device, because I find Tau really interesting, and if you don't like Tau, then I'm sorry, but we're going to be talking about Tau today. And the question that I want to pose isn't really one question. It's more of a debate around a theme, and that theme is the return of Commander Farsight. Could Commander Farsight return to the Tau Empire? Could he do it of his own accord? Would he have to be convinced? What would have to happen for him to do so? And if he comes back in whatever capacity, what happens? So we're going to have a bit of an all-round debate on that. Now obviously this is a very wide issue, there's a lot of factors in play, so I'm sure you'll have your own thoughts. Feel free to let me know in the comments below what you think. But these are my thoughts. So, question one is, will Farsight come back on his own? Will he just decide one day, you know what, I'm going to go back to the Tau Empire? No, I don't think so. At least not in any military strength. We saw when the Enclaves aided the Empire at Mugalath Bay, better known as Agraland to the Imperium, Farsight came in and the Enclaves did a lot of damage. They couldn't prevent Mugalath Bay from being destroyed, but they did a lot of damage. But rather than engage after the battle, Farsight just took his forces away. He kept them safe from censure. He probably didn't know that Aun'Shi was dead and Shadowsun was winning and all that stuff was going on, but he led his forces away rather than try and talk with the main empire. And that implies to me that he doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to be at risk of his warriors being brainwashed or turned on him or turned against their mindset by the Ethereals, because he's maybe distrustful or fearful of what the Ethereals will do. Another point of evidence the way he won't go back on his own is that, at least at the time of Arthas Morlock, and this may still be the case, he believed himself to be a danger to the greater good. What he learned on Arthas Morlock, i.e. the warp, demons, and all of that stuff, that knowledge, he felt it was dangerous. It challenged the rule of the Ethereals, and it challenged the way the Ethereals presented the world, or the galaxy, to the Tau, because the Tau don't really know that chaos exists. They know of chaos to an extent, but they don't really know what it is. They don't really know what the warp is, what demons are, and Farsight does. And the Ethereals have seemingly either been completely blind to chaos, or know of it and are not telling the Tau about it for one reason or another. And so Farsight's knowledge of the warp is potentially earth-shattering for the Empire, and it would throw the rule of the greater good and the Ethereals into question. And he doesn't want that. He's quite happy serving the greater good, just not the Ethereals. So he wouldn't want to go back because of that knowledge. That said though, could he be convinced to return? He won't go back on his own, but could individuals or factors allow him to return in some capacity, whether that's being dragged back or returned as a hero? We'll talk about some of the ideas of where it would go in a minute, but I want to talk about, could he even be convinced? So the main people in play are Shadowsun, Aun'Shi, and the next Ethereal Supreme. Aun'Shi is dead. He died on Mugalath Bay. I don't know why he was on Mugalath Bay, but he was. So he's dead, and we have no Ethereal Supreme right now. And that means that Farsight, not Farsight, that the Ethereals don't really have a direction. Like, the Ethereals all have sort of this first among equals thing going on. Like, they have their ranks from Aun'La all the way up to the next Aun'El or Aun'O. I'd rather be Aun'O. I don't know if Aun'Va is above Aun'O, because I've never heard Va used outside of the Ethereal cast. Never mind. Different debates. But there is no leader right now. And that means that until there is a leader, we don't know what direction the Ethereal cast is going to take the Tau Empire in. And with regards to Farsight, does that mean that the next Ethereal Supreme will be all about, let's get Farsight back, let's get him back in the Empire? I know he's done some weird stuff and we don't really know his motives and all of that, but let's get him back Let's see what he knows, and let's try and get him back integrated into the Empire. Because those worlds will be useful to us as well. Or are they going to be on the idea of, let's just keep on as we are? Farsight, as far as everyone else is concerned, is dead, his expedition was lost, the Farsight Enclaves don't exist, and all of that stuff. Or are they going to decide, right, best we come out with it, Farsight's alive, his expedition has survived somehow, and they've got an empire, and we're going to go and smash it. I don't think that the Ethereal Supreme will take that route unless they're particularly warlike, because the fact that Farsight is dead is kind of important for keeping the whole mysticism alive. Because if they say Farsight's alive and he's got an empire that has no Ethereals, then what are the main Tau Empire going to think? They're going to think, well, maybe we don't need the Ethereals. You see why the Ethereal Council will never go down that route, because it potentially undermines their rule again. And so that won't happen unless it's a particularly warlike Ethereal Supreme. So I think either they'll go down the route of keep everyone in the dark, or try and integrate, and that will have a big effect, because that changes the effect that Shadow Sun and Aun'Shi can have. Aun'Shi is supposedly on a mission to go to the Farsight Enclaves and recruit Farsight. We don't know if that is exactly his mission, but we know he is supposedly in the Farsight Enclaves. He's the only Ethereal welcome there, which is perhaps unsurprising given that it's his fighting style that Farsight copied. They're both from Viola. And excuse me, sorry guys. All of that. It stands to reason that Aun'Shi will be the one to go. And if he's under orders, get Farsight back, I don't care what you have to do, then Aun'Shi has more leverage you can use. If he's under the idea of, right, we want Farsight to stay a secret, the Enclaves don't exist, then maybe he's just going to have to, like, well, can we just set up a little quiet alliance where we trade stuff? Like information, like an alliance of sorts. An ally of convenience as opposed to a full-on reintegration. As for Shadow Sun, well, under Aun'Vash, he was under orders to capture Farsight, assumedly drag him back and lock him away in secret, and take the Dawnblade off him and then just wait him out. That wouldn't work, but hey, they don't know how the Dawnblade works, and neither does Farsight. And at the moment, that's her orders. It could be that under the next Ethereal Supreme, she is told, right, Farsight is going to be brought back. Aun'Shi is going to bring him back, and you are going to help it. You're going to go out to the Farsight Enclaves. You're going to take a force. If he resists, put him down. But otherwise, bring him back. I don't care what you have to do. Fix up some old wounds. Strike up that old friendship you had under Puretide. I say friendship in inverted commas, not in a romantic sense. I say it in that they never were truly friends. They were just very tight-knit allies. They became very close as bondmates as opposed to lovers and stuff. Please don't take that out of context. I know people like to do that with Shadow Sun. Stop. This isn't 4chan. Grow up. Anyway, so the Ethereal Supreme will affect Shadow Sun and Aun'Shi, and so I think they're the most important individual, but we don't know who they are yet, so it's going to be very, very different. On a physical front, like technology and people of the Enclaves, you have to think about the treatment of the Enclaves' inhabitants' technology. Are they going to be re-educated, reintegrated, allowed to stay as they are? Is the technology just going to be seized? Is it going to be manipulated, copied, abandoned? We don't know. And that will probably have an effect on how Farsight sees the situation. The knowledge of Farsight, or the knowledge of the warp that Farsight has, is also very important, because if he comes back with that knowledge, I've said already what consequences that could have. And so the way they decide to treat that information could be pretty important. So they might say, keep it to yourself, please. Or they might say, right, it's time we tell them. We've seen, maybe they did some reading and the Watercast found out about the errors of the Emperor and not telling the Primarchs about Chaos, and so they decide to open the doors and say, this is what it is. I don't know, but that knowledge is also going to be a bit of a swing factor, because what they decide to do with it might depend on what Farsight decides to do. And finally, you have him. Farsight seems kind of a selfless type, like he's not a super glory hog who will do anything for personal gain. Like, he's still fighting for the greater good at the end of the day, but his own personal fate will probably matter to him. So is he going to be thrown in jail? Is he going to be put back on the front line? Is he going to be sort of secreted away in a Puretide type of manner? Is he just going to be killed? That will obviously have an effect, even if it's less than perhaps his people, the 8, his tech, and all of that stuff. Like, The Enclaves have the Earthgas Pilot Array, the Seismic Fibrillator node, the Warscaper drone, the Mirror Codex, technically. They have the Fusion Blades, and all of the stuff that you consider the relics of the Farsight Enclaves that they can take in game are basically unique to them. And so, yeah, I think the Empire would quite like some of that. So, could Farsight be convinced to come back? Honestly, I don't know. And I think this basically, my answer is, it depends on who the next Ethereal Supreme is. If the next Ethereal Supreme is someone who is willing to bring the Empire together, unite the Tau race once again, and launch the next sphere of expansion, unite the race, and allow them to push forth and conquer, with Farsight and Shadowsun, the greatest students of Puretide, at their head, the Master of Carrion and the Master of Montcar and the Mistress of Carrion working together once again, then yeah, I think Farsight could come back, as long as they give him a degree of carte blanche, a bit of a blank slate. Say, what you did in the past, the things that we consider traitorous, off the record, alright? It will be noted, possibly in the annals of history, that you went rogue for a while, but then you saw the error of your ways and you came back. As for his people, you can basically carry on as you are. Because if they say, right, the Ethereals are going to take over the Enclaves and start commanding them the way they used to do, that won't work for the Enclaves, because the Enclaves warriors have never fought with Ethereals before. They work with the Firecast alone, and they don't involve the Ethereals at all. Obviously, there aren't any out there. And so Farsight might want to continue going on his way of, like, the Firecast is in command, the commanders will do their thing, no Ethereal intervention. If they allow that, I think Farsight could come back. But if the next Ethereal Supreme decides, all right, let's keep it all quiet and like try and, if you want to bring him back, bring him in quietly, and maybe we'll just secret him away into history, then no chance. Like, Aun'Shi's good, and Shadowsun might actually have a role to play, but I don't think they could talk Farsight round unless he's given a fair amount of leeway and freedom, and that his people are given a lot of leeway and freedom to continue on as they are, because yeah, basically everything I've said previously. And there is also the idea of, well, what happens if Farsight says yes, and what happens if Farsight says no? So let's say he gets carte blanche from the Ethereals and has said, right, come back, do what you need to do. There are basically two ways that can go. Option one is he decides to hang up the fight, and become a pure type individual. He passes on his knowledge through his Mirror Codex and his Book of the Beast, and he becomes the ultimate tutor of Montcar. He knows a bit of Carrion as well, but Montcar is his specialty, and he does that. Or he goes back on the front line and he goes and wrecks and face, leading his forces alongside Oshacera, and we have the 3.5th sphere of expansion, or the next stage of the third sphere, or even the fourth sphere if you want to decide to rename to that. And it all gets fun. If he does decide to come back quietly and say, right, leave my people alone, do what you must with me, but leave my people alone, then there's a chance that he'll be put up as a martyr. No, not a martyr, as a traitor. He'll be put on trial. I don't really know the exact inner workings of the Tau legal system, but he'll just be taken out of the records. The records will be doctored. The forces might return, but they will be basically forcefully reintegrated. They'll be re-educated, retrained, basically put into the position of regular fire warriors back on the line. And Farsight, Shavastos, Torchstar, possibly some others, will simply be put down. Ovesa, I think, gets to live because his technology and his power of technology, the fact he's still alive after all these centuries, and what he's developed means that he'll probably be kept around just for that. Or maybe they'll just scan his brain and make a bunch of AI engrams of Ovesa and then kill him. Whatever. It will not end well for the leaders of the Enclaves, but the warriors will just be thrown back into the main empire and forcibly re-educated. But I don't think it will end well for Farsight unless he's given a lot of freedom. That's why I don't think he will come back unless he has it. But what if he says no? What if he says no? Well, basically that becomes what's Aun'Shi's orders if Farsight says no. So let's say Aun'Shi goes to Farsight and says, we want you back, here's XYZ conditions and ABC freedoms that we can give you. And Farsight says, no, I'm not having it, we're not going back. The Farsight Enclaves can survive on their own, we don't need the Ethereals, we proved we don't need the Ethereals, we'll be fine, just leave. What if he does that? Well, if Aun'Shi's orders are bring him back no matter what, then he will probably go back to the Tau Empire and then lead an invasion and smash it. Because by any means necessary also includes in a box. And they'll just wipe out the Enclaves. Either that, or he'll try and arrest Farsight, which will not end well, and that will trigger another invasion of the Enclaves, and then kaput. The Enclaves just get completely wiped out, and their worlds are occupied by the Empire, and it all ends badly. Basically, this doesn't end well, if you're Farsight, generally, and I like the only way it ends well is if the Ethereal caste and the Water caste of the Empire are willing to say, you have these freedoms now. You are blank slate, you carry on as you are, but you're working for us now. You answer to the Ethereals, you don't answer to yourself, and your knowledge will stay hidden. Or you do what you wish with your information. Your technology and information is shared with us, and we will trade with you, and you join up with the Firecast, and you follow our orders and go on campaign with us. That is about the only way it ends well. Everything else sees Farsight arrested or killed. And that's why I don't think Farsight will ever go back. I don't think the Ethereals are willing to budge enough to let him go. By which I mean let him go free and do what he wants. The Ethereals seem like they're too controlling. I don't like the Ethereals. I've made that abundantly clear in the past. I don't like the Ethereals. I don't like... I kind of think the way Farsight does. I distrust the Ethereals. I like the idea of the Firecast being this whole system. And so I don't think the Ethereals are capable of budging enough to allow Farsight to have it his way and come back under his terms. And so I don't think Farsight's coming back. The other option is that he fakes them out and tries to lead a coup d'etat, which is a French phrase where he basically just tries to take out the leadership in one go. I.e. he says, right, alright, take me to Tau and we'll work this out. Take me to the homeworld. And then he kills the next Ethereal Supreme, kills the entire Ethereal Council, and tries to conquer the Empire through his words and his actions, and show them a better way without the Ethereals. Now, there are a lot of Farsight sympathizers who are very quietly there, particularly on Viola, and I reckon that if he played it all correctly, they could probably take Delith as well, by launching an invasion across the Damocles Gulf while Farsight is on the Tau homeworld, but I don't think it can last. I don't think the Enclaves have enough numbers, enough firepower, or enough variety of tactics, because Montcar is a very well-known Tau tactic, and carry on, he doesn't know it well enough to use it. And the Tau's military doctrine is not varied enough to make it work. That I don't think the Enclaves could lead a coup d'etat. It would be great because it would take out the Ethereals pretty much entirely, or in a very large number, but at the end of the day it will not end well for Farsight. So there you go. Those are my thoughts on the return, potentially, of Commander Farsight. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the Ethereals... I think the Ethereals basically are too stubborn in their mindset and what they want to allow Farsight to have it his way and come back under his terms. And Farsight the same. He's not willing to go back on his own. And so unless the Ethereals are really willing to accommodate, I don't think he's going to go at all. If he does go... Excuse me. If he does go, the only ways it will end is he'll either be arrested, killed, or put back on the front line. He could be put into this Puretide-esque position, but he's way too aggressive for that. He's too hot-blooded. He's a Violan at heart. He's the master of Montcar. He'll want to be on the campaign. So, will he come back? No, probably not. If he did come back, what would happen? He'd probably end up on the front line, in jail, or dead. Though if he ended up in jail, he'd outlive probably the entire Tau Empire. So, anyway, that's all for today. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you think on the ideas I put forward in the comments below. If you have any other theories, I have my content suggestion box on our Facebook page, or you can leave them in the comments here, and I'll try and remember, although the Facebook page is better because I'm checking that quite regularly. I have got one theory that's been put forward to me that I want to investigate, and that will be the Watchers in the Dark. So I'm planning to look at the Watchers in the Dark in the hopefully not too distant future. So thank you all for watching. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis, and until the next time, I'll see you all again. Bye for now.